Watch your wife. Back up.
Welcome to another episode of J Inclusive. Please share, like, comment, subscribe, and set your notifications on so you are alerted every time I upload. The following video presents information sourced exclusively from news articles, court documents, and social media. I maintain no affiliations with any parties involved. Sunday, February 9th, police were dispatched to the 25,000 block of Shiawassee Street near 8 Mile and Beach Roads for a report of an unresponsive person lying face down in the snow around 10:15 a.m. The victim, identified as Tahiry Broom, 29, of Cleveland, Ohio, suffered from a gunshot wound to the head, and although paramedics immediately began life-saving measures, the victim had no pulse and was pronounced dead at the scene.
Residents who live at the Riverstone Apartments here in Southfield are shocked that a shooting happened so close to where they live.
This is not something that's ever happened here, where everybody I've talked to in the neighborhood has always felt safe.
Southfield police responded to the apartment complex on Shiawassee Street at around 10 a.m. on Sunday for reports of an unresponsive person lying in the parking lot. They discovered the victim had a gunshot wound to the head.
Everyone here is pretty shaken up about it.
Brock Steve lives in the apartments and was one of the people who saw the body in the parking lot.
You never really imagine this to happen in your neighborhood, and when it does, it's honestly really terrifying.
Authorities said they found a single spent 9mm shell casing, the victim's Ohio driver's license, and a damaged cell phone in the snow near the crime scene. According to a witness, they heard a loud noise before seeing a man enter a bluish-gray 2021 Chevrolet Equinox before speeding off. The vehicle belonged to the victim. The man was described as being 6 feet tall with a beard and wearing a black hat. And according to police, they believe the suspect and victim knew each other. Tahiry was born on March 1st, 1995 in Cleveland, Ohio. According to her social media, she was a self-described shopaholic and unabashedly earning money to buy things. She was a fan of Nicki Minaj and Rihanna. She liked Forever 21 and Hot Topic. She was a vibrant young woman who enjoyed life.
This shouldn't have happened.
But the violence, harassment, and risk experienced by trans women of color is an all too common reality Janice Poindexter has been sounding the alarm about for years.
This should be a wake-up call for us all. It's us now. But when we're picked off, you're next.
She says too often anti-trans messaging creates more fear and damage.
When you have a demographic or a population whose lives have no value, which also doesn't garner oversight or checks and balance, then you have waves of violence and waves of victimization that happens. And that's what we're seeing playing out.
It's also why she says advocates will keep fighting and keep honoring the memory of those lost.
This person who lost their life is connected to a family, that there were dreams and goals attached to this being, that there was a history of life.
Officers later found the SUV about 400 feet from the scene of the shooting at another building in the apartment complex. Detectives learned the shooting suspect lived in that building. They also learned that on the morning of Broom's murder, the suspect had made about 30 phone calls to various sex workers, all black transgender women, before eventually meeting up with Tahiry. So where did their suspect go after committing such a gruesome act? Southfield police found Robert Ridges III at the MGM Grand Casino in Detroit after identifying him as the suspect behind the fatal shooting at the Riverstone Apartments, which had occurred a mere 11 hours earlier.
A family in mourning after their loved one was murdered on a trip to Michigan. Tonight, a homicide investigation is underway. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
I'm Simon Shakette. 29-year-old Tahiry Broom, a transgender woman from Ohio, was shot and killed Sunday morning. On Wednesday, we shared with you how Southfield police say they arrested the suspect at a casino shortly after finding what they believe was the murder weapon in his apartment.
Well, today, 7 News Detroit reporter Christiana Ford learning more about the victim, talking to her family about the impact she made on their lives.
It's been 4 days since the family of Tahiry Broom, who also went by Tokyo, learned about her brutal murder while visiting Michigan.
It's really like it got my whole family in like a uproar. Like it's like one of those things. Like you don't know what to feel. Like you want to be angry, you want to be sad, you want to cry, you want to scream. Like you want to do it's a big ball of emotion.
Even after the arrest of the person police believe is responsible, Robert Ridges III, there are still a lot of questions going through her aunt Patricia Bender's mind.
Like, you just want to know why. Like, why did you do that? Why do you feel like she deserved for that to happen? You know, and then that way and that magnitude. Being that they caught him, that brought some peace. But it's like, it don't take away the pain.
Bender says her niece loved making people laugh, was full of energy, confidence, and loved Nicki Minaj.
Funny, smart, like one of those people that could walk into the darkest room and find some light in it.
She's hoping people see Broom in that bright light instead of focusing on what she did for work.
It doesn't mean that that person was a bad person. She was never a bad person.
Southfield police say they haven't ruled out the possibility that Broom was targeted. The suspect made 33 calls to sex workers, including black transgender women like Broom.
He knew, I believe it was possibly, maybe even a motive of a robbery as well, because when he was interviewed, turned out he didn't have any money. So, how is he going to pay for services, if you will? And so, but he's carrying a handgun.
But the evil that happened and investigation into it won't stop them from celebrating who she was.
She's shining light that's going to shine forever and ever and ever and ever.
The family wants people to know they're grateful for the outpouring of love and support they have received.
According to reports, Tahiry was a sex worker, but police promised her mother that no matter what line of work Tahiry was in, this shouldn't have happened.
Was a sex worker, and certainly not a legal profession, but my commitment to Mrs. Broom was that the fact that Jamal was a sex worker would not be the focus of the sequence of events, because no matter what line of work Jamal was in, this shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about our victim, Jamal Broom, and we can bring the victim's photo up. Jamal, 29 years old, a resident of Cleveland, Ohio. And I did have an opportunity to speak to Jamal's mother. And what I'll describe Mrs. Broom, a very strong woman, certainly very emotional. We're talking about losing a child in such a gruesome and violent manner. But we talked for a matter of time, allowing her to vent about what happened, what Jamal meant to Mrs. Broom. And I made a couple commitments to Mrs. Broom. Certainly I'm going to need your help from the media to make sure that my commitments stand firm, because I always consider myself a promise keeper, and I want to make sure I keep the promise to Ms. Broom. When you look at Jamal, is a biological male, but does present as a female and is a proud member of the transgender community. And one thing I told Mrs. Broom was that in my remarks, her daughter would be referred to by the appropriate pronouns, she and her. And so I asked that the media covering this respect Southfield Police Department's wishes and also the wishes of the family. You go by the evidence, it suggests that he sought after both black females to include the transgender community. And so I believe that now that this has happened, he wants to try to distance himself from that reality. But no, he knew. I believe it was possibly maybe even a motive of a robbery as well, because when he was interviewed, turned out he didn't have any money. So, how is he going to pay for services, if you will? And so, but he's carrying a handgun. And so a lot of different variations of what could have happened. But to answer your question, I did not believe for 1 minute that he not knew that Jamal was transgender. Right now we have information, we have search warrants put in for phone records and whatnot, social media accounts, and this may change. It may ultimately change into maybe hate crime. Right now the evidence doesn't suggest it, but again, more search warrants, more information is developing that may change that. You asked the question about the state of the country. So one thing about me, I'm going to always be really upfront and very vocal about respect for all people, to include our transgender community. And that's why I started the press conference out in a manner that I did, of asking the media and the community to be respectful of the mother and the family and recognize the wishes of the family and the victim to be identified as she or her. When you look at, crimes that occur with any person, but particularly individuals in the sex worker community, we're going to always advise them to be careful in that line of work, because there are predators who do seek to harm them. You've seen it play out across the country. And so there will always be a warning to those in the sex worker profession to certainly be mindful of who you contact with.
This past month, entrepreneur, reality TV actor.
I'm okay. Like, he makes me feel secure. It's not just one-sided, and I'm not really that big on it. I'm just more, make me feel like I'm beautiful. Tell me you love me. Is my mental okay? He's there for me in all the ways. Nobody never been there for me before. That's why we planning on moving in together and starting our own.
Yeah, might as well. You're paying all the damn rent. You might as well just get one big place and then consolidate.
But, just hoping I'm tripping. I'm older. I'm just being insecure about certain, So I hope I don't look like a fool. There's a lot wrapped up into this whole outcome.
Ballroom legendary queen Sexy Lexy, who has her own podcast here on YouTube called Let's Address It, where she interviews trans women from all walks of life, sat down for an interview with Don't Call Me White Girl, where she touched on the dangers of being trans and escorting.
I'm not trying to tell y'all to condone in it, but if this is your life, just at least do it right and be safe. Always be safe.
Yeah.
I typically tell my girls, don't ever give out your room number, because I've had a lot of bad experiences with that. Like, so I don't ever give out my room number. When they get there, I'll direct you to my room.
Right.
Baby, what do you see in the lot? Past the front desk, make a right, elevator's right there. When you get off the elevator, hi, I'm on the 7th floor. What do you see right now? You see the vase?
Yeah.
I need you to tell me what you see so I can make sure you're here. Because when you give out your room number, you could be a cop on the phone, or you could just be somebody that's coming to rob me.
Right.
I need to see, when I tell you, okay, baby, make this right, I'm sticking my head out the door to see how many you with. Because I almost got killed in New Orleans. This was like maybe 3 years ago. It was like, I'm directing the guy to my room on the phone, but I'm still in there getting dressed. So I'm like, come up to the 3rd floor, come down the hallway when you get off the elevator. So he like, all right, I'm coming. I was like, just come all the way down to the end. So as I'm about to open the door, I see him walk past. So when I'm like, babe, right here, come back. It was like 3 on the wall with they all had on guns. So I jumped back, pushed the door closed and locked it. So he comes back, he knocked on the door. They was knocking on the door for like 5 minutes, but I didn't know if they was gonna start shooting through the door or what. So I went in the bathroom and like got in the tub. I was scared as Mona. I'm telling, because I'm not from there either.
Yeah.
And in New Orleans, they got a really high murder rate. If you ever paid attention to First 48, you'll know New Orleans is always the number one. Yeah, it's all, Dad, Mobile, Alabama, So I remember him they kept knocking on the door and he kept like calling my phone, like, damn, open the door. So I went and answered it. So I'm like, listen, I'm about to go call the cops on y'all. He was like, I ain't with nobody. I don't know them. First of all, if it's 3 on the wall outside with their guns drawn, why you ain't exactly?
Yeah.
So anyway, like they waited like 10 more minutes, and then I just seen them like running back they all got in the same truck and just peeled off. Yeah, they would have killed me.
Yeah.
I know they would have killed me. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because when I do what I'm doing, I'm smart. I don't ever keep my money in my room. I instantly, if I make $1,000 that day, I'm instantly putting it on my bank account.
Okay.
So you wasn't gonna be as though they wasn't gonna be able to get nothing from me. They would have definitely killed. Mad when they wasting their time.
Yeah.
So
Sexy Lexy's account aligns with Barron's statement regarding Tahiry's case. Ridges was unemployed, penniless, and seeking someone to rob. He targeted a black transgender woman because he believed he could take her life without consequence, that no one would care, and that he could survive on whatever money he stole. I commend Barron for handling this case with such grace and for ensuring that his team and the media respect Tahiry, her family, her friends, and the transgender community. This tragedy is a stark example of a crime of opportunity, where a predator exploited a marginalized community. Rest in peace, Tahiry Broom.